Nothing silly has happened. By the way, Parker, did you watch the soft opening from the last one?
No,
Oh,
I have not.
you give it a gander at some point. It's pretty funny.
I'm looking it up right now.
All
right. Are you ready, buddy? I'm ready, dude. I'm ready to get fucking. I spilled my coffee all over the place. No!
Fuck. That is good. That is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a cinematic odyssey through the 100 greatest films spanning from the roaring 1920s to the cutting-edge masterpieces of 2024. Carefully curated from the lovely people on Letterboxd. Two intrepid souls embark on a journey through a treasure trove of timeless classics and groundbreaking contemporary works, where each frame embodies the enduring magic of the silver screen. Grab your popcorn and join us on this epic expedition through a century of cinematic excellence, where every film promises to enchant, inspire, and leave an indelible mark on the soul. And now, for your listening pleasure, here are the Letterbros.
Welcome everybody to the newest episode of Letterbros, where we let a wheel decide our fate and what movie we'll watch next, based off the top 100 movies on Letterboxd. As always, I'm Felix, and that dude over there is Parker, and especially cool. Today we are joined by a special guest, who is an expert and avid fan of the movie we are going to be discussing today, and here he is. It's Will. Welcome to the pod, buddy.
Great intro.
Yeah, they're usually worse. But yeah, dude. Welcome to the pod. How we feeling today, boys?
I'm feeling great personally. I am excited to talk about Perfect Blue because I was actually invested in this movie the whole time I was watching it. And we're hitting the ground running, diving back in. Will, just to catch you up, Felix and I, before recording the last episode, Tokyo Story, that was like the longest break we had taken since we started. It was, I think, several months, right?
It was like a month or two.
It was like a month and a half. And Tokyo Story definitely probably had something to do with it. I can't lie to you. It was a bit of a drag for us to get through and find a time to record. So I'm excited to have you on today, and also for us to be discussing a very interesting movie, one that shakes up the top 100 a little bit, gives it a little bit of a juice, in my opinion. Will, how are you feeling today?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm excited that you asked me about it because I was like, of all the movies from the top 100 that I would love to talk about, Perfect Blue is probably like top 3.
What would your other two be, would you say? Or just give us some of your favorite movies. What would your top,
I'm
top
sorry.
four consist
What's
of?
your Letterboxd 4?
My 4 right now is Inside Man, Training Day, Beau Travail, and I think I put My Dinner with Andre on there still. Training Day came like recently. I didn't like it when I first saw it, and then rewatching it like a year ago, I was like over the moon with it. I thought it was fucking great.
I remember my dad making me watch, or not making me, but had me watch Training Day like when it originally came out, and I was like probably like 10 or 11 years old, and he was just like, "Yo, Denzel's the GOAT, bro. No, he's
that movie specifically.
So that is that's it very well." And then after that, just every other movie with Ethan Hawke was just like, "Oh, he's from Training Day."
All right, so yeah, as we stated, we have Perfect Blue that we're discussing today. This film is from director Satoshi Kon. Is it Kon?
Yeah.
Who also directed Paprika. Is Paprika also on the top 100, Felix? Do you know?
I don't think so, but I can double check.
Regardless, Will, have you seen Paprika?
Yeah, the only one of his movies I don't really remember clearly was Millennium Actress. I've seen all of them. Oh, actually, he directed a bit of a show that came out, I think, in the mid 2000s called The Paranoia Agent. I think he directed episodes there. Haven't seen those yet. But Paprika I saw, and that was, I think if you saw Inception, there's a lot of crossover scenes, and similar how Darren Aronofsky took a lot of homages to him in Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah,
there's a couple of things in Inception that are also very similar to the stuff in Paprika.
Interesting. Cool. Well, I'm glad to have you in that case because you are well versed in his filmography. This was my first Satoshi Kon film, but I've been wanting to watch Paprika for a while. But Perfect Blue follows Mima Kirigo, who is a young pop idol who, with a little bit of pressure from her agents, retires from her girl group, Cham, in order to pursue a career in acting. As she transitions into the film industry, in the acting industry, she faces a lot of unsettling harassment. There's a bit of blurred reality, and then over the course of the movie, a series of violent incidents that kind of put her safety as well as her sanity into question. So let's dive right in off rip. Will, I know how you feel about this movie. Felix, I have an idea of how you feel about this movie, but I'm less certain. So what were your takeaways from Perfect Blue, and what are your overall feelings towards it as of right now?
I mean, very strong. Like coming off of Tokyo Story and going into this, it's like a jolt of energy. It's like you just took like 5 shots of espresso after watching Tokyo Story and then get slapped in the face and being like, "You're in this fucking movie now." So, and again, it's really nice that we also got a movie that was under 90 minutes, so I think that also helped a lot. And by god, a lot of shit happens in these 90 in like in these,
Hmm.
what is it, 85, 80, 82 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of wasted time, if any. Everything
No.
has its purpose, and I think that that excites me when it comes to watching the film again because you know that there's not a wasted minute. So having an idea of where things are going to go, I'm sure that it allows you the opportunity to pick up on certain aspects of symbolism or certain things that are said or certain things that take place in the background that kind of foreshadow what is to come. But yeah, it's a tight 82 minutes. I mean, we are moving the whole time.
Hmm.
And I definitely appreciated that. It felt like it could have been longer. And I feel like that's a sign of a good movie. We've talked about it before, Felix, when I'd rather be left wanting more than left feeling like I didn't get uh,
Hmm.
enough.
Yeah, no, but I mean, my overall like opinion, it's that one, like I'm always a sucker for a good animated movie, and one that kind of pushes the envelope, like we've always talked about, of like what the, not say limitations, but like what an animated film, the type of story an animated film can tell, and really make it, kind of known that like this is an art form. It's definitely a piece of media that can tell just as compelling of a story as a live action that could be normally nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. Like this could go toe to toe with like a Tokyo Story that's, critically acclaimed, but I feel like the story here is more compelling and has a lot more to say, um that's relatable in like today's society. Like something that I kept thinking about watching this movie is like the story and track record of like any Disney Channel star. You say like Hannah Montana, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, like all of these like, actresses that came up and got their fame while they were young doing, these Disney shows, and they're seen as this kind of like, ball of like this little like capsule of youth that, you see them as a child like pretty much throughout their entire life, and as soon as they start to branch out of that, going into, the pop like volumes of fame, that they start to become, more sexualized, and they start to, try and grow up at a very like expedited rate, and people take that negatively and, start to paint them in this light of like, they're disgusting, they're trying to ruin their image. So a lot of Mima screamed like, specifically like Miley Cyrus's race to fame, where, as soon as she started going off kilter from, what we were used to seeing her, people were throwing her under the bus and, just saying she's ruining her career. And I just thought it was very interesting that, a movie made in 1997 still holds weight to this day. But I want to hear what Will's thoughts are, seeing as, this was a movie that obviously caught his attention so much that he wanted to join us on the pod. So I want to kind of dive into, like what drew you to this movie originally? What made you want to come back and revisit it? Just, what are your thoughts, buddy?
Thanks. What first? I mean, I was a big anime fan growing up when I was like 14, and then all through high school. And I think there's a point where you start looking just for. I'm kind of as a movie fan too. You're like once you're kind of out of like your younger phase of just seeing anything, you start to kind of curate, well, what's worth my time. And I'd heard about Perfect Blue for years, and the first I think 2 times I watched it once alone and then once with some friends, and both times it was really interesting, but I couldn't explain why. I wasn't that connected to it, and then but there were just bits and pieces of the movie that I thought like 5 minute, 10 minute stretches and certain scenes where I thought like this is really fucking with my head. I can't tell what's going on. Really, I'm not clear about what's real and what I'm supposed to believe or disbelieve. And then the third time watching it, when Parker asked me to come on, was great because then I need another opportunity to see it again. And this time I was a lot more focused, and I feel like it just really, really blew me away this time. I think mainly because I got like the general sense of pacing, and there's like, imagine like a rubber band getting slowly pulled and pulled and pulled, and for 80 minutes, and it never feels rushed. It never feels like it's overdoing itself. And like you said earlier, there's a really strong sense of care put into every single moment of the movie, even like stuff that seems slower or unimportant. All the visuals matter because I mean, animation just inherently takes so much time and so much energy, and especially in the late 90s where there was more experimental stuff going on in the industry at large. um, this movie does a really good job at catering to like a film audience, because Satoshi Kon wasn't like an anime guy. He wasn't part of that culture. He wanted to be a manga author when he was younger, but he was more inspired by other film buffs and directors and actors. And so this movie, I think, pays a lot to, or I'll say the movie does a great job at just really controlling what you are led to believe. And especially because it's animation, it can do a lot with tricking you into thinking one way, but really showing you something else. I don't know if that answers your question. I'm kind of just spewing a bit, but I don't know. I could say a lot more of the movie, but I don't want to take too much of the time. I want to pass to Parker. What do you think?
No, definitely. And feel free to elaborate anytime. I mean, these are typically longer form episodes, and we like diving into what our takeaways were from the movie, because at the end of the day, that helps when we move into trying to get the purpose of this show, or this archive that Felix and I are creating, is really to kind of pit these films against each other in a roundabout way. So we'd love to hear extensive breakdown and discuss the ins and outs of our feelings about the movie. But on first watch, I get what you mean, Felix. I mean, Will, there were times like right after the movie where I I really liked it, but I didn't necessarily feel 100% bought in to it. I had to kind of chew a little bit and revisit and think about what it was that was taking place. I will say that, similar to you, there were moments in this in Perfect Blue where I was really grooving and I was feeling, okay, this is my shit. We hit like the 45-minute mark, and the sequence starts where um Mima wakes up in bed to take one. And then there's kind of a series of recurring events that mirror each other with slight variations. And we get caught in a time loop of sorts, but it's not a time loop. Like, Mima's days are actually progressing, and we get to follow her descension into all days becoming one, and not really understanding where you are in your mental state, if you're at work or if you're at home, because these realities are blurring, and she's not sure what version of her she really is anymore, because everyone else is creating her image. She doesn't have the opportunity to create her own. She's got rabid fans that are crazy, even just the guys that are talking. We're focused throughout the film on the one crazed fan. What's his name?
Me Mania
Mima?
is what he calls himself.
Me Mania. Yes, thank you. And he's really the central point. But the film also shows groups of friends just talking passively about Mima. And that is still some form of projection of her personality into the ether, so to speak. So this girl has so many different versions of herself that people are interpreting and putting out into the atmosphere for her to see, that she completely breaks down and is unable to create her own personality. And
Yeah.
I think that it was done very well. It felt a little bit like a David Fincher film, I would say, but obviously beforehand to a bit. I mean, he was working earlier as well,
Yeah.
but it gave me a lot of that. I've never seen Mulholland Drive, but I kind of imagine that it would be similar to the way that this was done.
Yeah.
I could be very wrong, but I
Honestly,
liked.
definitely
You're
it
not.
does.
I totally got that.
Okay, I really liked
Especially where
that
it's not
because
clear, because like the way that like dreams or illusions are shot is identical to how the real world is shot, and so it's very easy to get lost and like jolted back. Like,
right.
oh no, now we're in reality. Oh no, wait, no, now we're in
Mhm.
reality.
Yes, exactly. One of the strongest versions of that, and there's a lot of great editing in this
Mm,
movie in terms of the way that the audio syncs up too with what you're watching. You don't really know who's talking. The moment when Rumi puts her hand on Mima's shoulder and says illusions can't come to reality, but the come to reality part is the other actress in the scene, and then we're suddenly there. It's just it's so well done. And
yeah.
those are the moments that I really found myself bought in. And the more that I've sat with it, the more that I've warmed up to the film on the whole. Not that I was cold on it in the first place by any means, but it's certainly grown on me since I've seen it.
Actually, if I can mention something really
Yeah.
quickly about that, like everyone having their own idea of who Mima is and what she is. There's that great scene in the beginning where she's performing with Cham, and the security guard who we follow through the movie is like, it cuts to him almost like he has his hand cupped in a strange way, and he's looking through it, his palm,
Right.
and then it cuts to his angle of perspective, and he's holding her Mima up like an action figure.
Hmm.
And it has this
Mm-hmm.
really crazy implication for the whole. I mean, if you don't see the movie, it just feels like this weird like he's like basically identifying her as just an object, and knowing what that means later in the movie is, especially seeing it the second time, I think going back to that in the beginning is a huge like holy shit. It's such a good foreshadowing that in the beginning it just feels like a weird offhanded kind of like, oh, all these people who are in the audience, they see Cham as I mean, still like part of their life in a way, because there is a dedication between fans and like the idol culture in Japan, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
they're like an entertainment. They're specifically like an object to be adored and not really like people. And so to have that be like one of the like a focal point in that first act is a really just great use of foreshadowing.
Yeah. I mean, it immediately gives him a sense of possession over her.
Mhm.
And people like you see that every day in terms of people being mad about who celebrities are dating, as
Yeah,
if that they have a say in what it is that they can do with their lives.
yeah,
Um, and people just the masses, so to speak, tend to take possession over their idols in a way, and that
mhm,
is him idolizing her,
yeah.
trying to take control, which you're right, absolutely, he's trying to do throughout the film.
And what I think is crazy is that how they, typically a movie like this will, either kind of give you hints about like who's going to be performing these heinous acts like early on in the movie, or like this movie doesn't like try to hide it at all. It tells you like right away that this is the person you're going to be showing interest in. Like they literally make him look like a freak, like
Hmm.
totally different from anybody else in the movie. To have you kind of, focus yourself on this specific character, knowing that he's going to be the stalker and that he might be performing these acts, to really just take your, and I mean, obviously, like, spoiler alert, this movie's been out for a while, but we're discussing it. But I mean, it's really taking all of that away, your focus away from Rumi, who obviously, like, towards the end of the movie, we realize has been kind of pulling the strings this entire time, and even went so far as to hire this guy to be the stalker. And it's just such good filmmaking when you kind of already are like playing with this idea of like you already know who the bad guy is, to kind of take your focus off, almost like kind of like a sleight of hand of what's actually going on. Because I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking the whole time that, like, the Mimi persona that we're seeing floating around the whole movie is this personification of Mimi, and come to find out that it's actually been Rumi dressing up as Mimi or Mima. Like, it's crazy. And
I
like,
don't know if I agree with that interpretation personally.
what?
Fight, fight, fight.
Like, this is what it's all about.
No,
What do
I
you
don't necessarily think that every time that we see this other Mima that it's Rumi
Oh,
dressed
no.
as Mima by any means. This sequence is definitely one that I think I need to think about more. I think that Rumi's story arc is separate in terms of the happenings of the film from the stalker security guard story arc. Like, I don't think that she was pulling his strings. I think that they acted independently from one another because
I thought she mentioned it.
does she?
Remember,
She said,
he gets an email from her in like the third act of the movie. He mentions that he gets like, "Oh, you sent me a letter telling
Yeah,
me
yeah,
how to help you." But up
yeah,
until
and
that
she even
point,
mentions it
I see
during the
it.
reveal. He's like, "Oh, he couldn't even get it done."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they
yes,
do. They are in cooperation, kind of towards
Yeah.
like the
Which,
end.
like,
But
he
up until
already
that point,
was
he is
obsessed with
just
her to begin with, so I guess it was just like easy pickings for her. Like,
sure.
I don't necessarily think that, like, so when in that scene where he's at home, like reading the emails, and you see that like Mima persona kind of like hugging over him, like, obviously you can interpret that as like him, like, just kind of,
yeah.
just
And like the
thinking
poke
that
from
that's there.
afar.
But like, it'd be really
Yeah, but
crazy if
it
that
could be
was,
actually Rumi dressed as Mima, and he's just choosing to see her as
oh
the real,
yeah,
like, actually. Yeah, yeah, certainly. Okay,
that would be
yeah,
crazy. we
I
should
get that.
we
And
should
the
ask
email
Mr.
thing
We
threw
should
me,
ask
so
Cone, but he's
glad
dead,
you guys
so
mentioned
R.I.P.
there are several times throughout the film, though, where it's again foreshadowing with Rumi, where Rumi's initially the one that does not want her to go into acting. She's constantly the one trying to keep Mima from doing things that are going to progress her image as the bad girl actress, newfound persona.
Mm-hmm.
And she even takes her back to the studio at one point to um, see the other two girls in Cham. And it's interesting now that we're thinking about it this way, or now that I'm thinking about it this way. You know how there's the manifestation of other Mima when she goes to visit. I wonder if what is happening there is Rumi is actually just super tight with these two girls still, and Mima can see like how much Rumi like has taken these two women in because they are still under her like kind of idea of personality. I could be way off. I'm just, sparking some discussion. But what if that's what freaks Mima out? Is like she sees that she's lost her way by growing into this other kind of personality.
That's
Or
interesting.
what do you
I
get?
like that
What
too.
is your thought? What are your thoughts about that scene?
I thought it was
Either.
cool. I mean, I disagree because I think just the way it's shot, I think Rumi is next to Mima as Mima sees the two girls on the radio show. But I
Mhm.
do like that image of like accidentally it's revealed that Rumi is the main antagonist actually of the movie by Mima's own perception of what she's just lost. But it's funny because there is a scene early on. She's like reading a fan letter. It's right after she leaves Cham. She's at home. I think it's before. I guess I'll explain. It's in when she's just reading fan mail, and one of them says like, "I want you to perform for us forever," and she's like, "But I." The lady says like, "But I can't. That's
Mhm.
impossible." So there is this like there is a little bit from her of wanting to pull away, but I don't think it's ever actually clearly stated in the movie that she 100% wants to leave Cham. We know she does because she just says, "Oh, it's my last song." Even the managers are pushing her to do film, but I don't remember if there's ever a line from her directly where she says what she actually wants. It feels
Right.
like there's kind of an implication in either direction.
Mhm.
But it's funny that even at least that feels an interesting point to me because I think that again just plays into the audience being unstable about what's going on. And even for her, it's maybe she doesn't even know what she wants. And so it's even easier for her to see hallucinations, to be manipulated by Rumi or the other manager. But it's interesting thinking about Rumi's influence on her indirectly in terms of how she views Cham now that they get uber successful after she leaves. And
Yeah.
how Rumi is maybe involved in that is a really interesting viewpoint.
Yeah, and even just like in the beginning when when they're at the concert and Mima's whole thing is that she's going to get on this stage and announce that she's going to be retiring from Cham, and obviously like there's things in the audience that are, interrupting that sort of announcement, but I mean one of her own like band members ends up just doing it for her cuz she's, you know, you could interpret that as like she's kind of flustered with what's going on in the crowd, but like to your point, is that what she really wants to
Right. She doesn't
do?
know. Yeah.
One thing I do want to talk about, because there is a certain point in the movie, and specifically a scene where they're filming this television show, and there's a scene of Mima in the interrogation room where she is basically saying like, "Oh, like this is my name," like, and it kind of makes you think about like it goes into this story arc of that the investigators who are being played on this show are actually the investigators looking into Mima's case of multiple personality disorder,
Mhm.
which threw me for a fucking loop because then there's this whole other storyline that this movie is making you think about, and it ends up being not true, or is it?
Okay.
Um,
So
It was like
I
that split second we were like, oh my God, is this whole movie about to fuck with me again?
I
Yeah,
have
because then
strong
it
feelings
leads
about
into
this.
everything else that's going on in the movie where we literally see Mima killing the photographer in, I mean, arguably the best shot in the whole movie. It's literally the poster of like Mima's like perfect personification, or like her perfect image of her in Cham while she's literally stabbing this photographer to death. Like it obviously the animation shows it as literally Mima, so when that scene comes up you're like, holy shit, is that actually her? But I mean, I just want to hear y'all's thoughts on it, on that little like kind of bait and switch.
Yeah, I don't think Mima, like real Mima, kills anyone in this movie.
I think so too. I think I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, I do, however, think that as she's going into her career as an actor, she there are moments in this film that are illusion. I do strongly believe that. I think that two of them are when Mima is acting. And I think that what we're getting clued in on is what is going through her head as she is delivering the lines. We see what's going through her head, and then we see the line delivered. And everyone cheers because of how great she delivers it. And we're able to see inside of her brain and see that, yeah, it was a great performance. Everyone loves it. But this is the struggle that is causing her to have this genuine performance. So when she looks in the mirror and says, I'm an actress, and then it cuts to the same scene again in double bind, and it's her saying, I'm a model, we're seeing first her internalization of the scene and how it's correlating directly to her life. And then we're being shown actual reality of her delivering the line. That's my personal interpretation of it. Same thing with when she is doing the murder scene, she is putting herself in the shoes of whoever, you know, kills this person. And I know that we're shown that reality later in the film, so it doesn't necessarily tie up as succinctly as the I'm a model, I'm an actress correlation, but I think that we are at times being shown what's going on in her brain while she's on set.
I'll say I totally agree with that interpretation, especially when I saw it this last time and noticing that how, I mean, they do it a few times in the film where some time has passed, but they'll purposely replay the same shot to kind of
Mm-hmm.
go on the back foot. And so I think the repetition of the line is like exactly what's going on. Is we're seeing her interpretation of it, and I think it's actually. I mean, also it's you just that scene alone is another addition to the whole theme of possession and kind of celebrity and idolization and obsession, where she's able to give that performance because it's the end of the movie. She's already dealt with 3 people in her life who have been killed almost directly in response to her leaving Cham. She had the exploding message. At this point, she's a broken, beaten down person, and she's able to give that performance of someone who's just totally fractured. And
Mm-hmm.
everyone cheers for it. Whereas, if you remember at the very beginning of her acting career, she was like trying to repeat the same 3 words over and over and over, very
Right.
conscious of what's going on, and no one really cares because it's whatever, it's a throwaway. So
But we still see it.
we do
Sorry
see it.
to just jump in real quick, but we
No, you're
still see
fine.
her repeating that line in her real life in a
Yes,
way to try and bring it to
Mhm.
the set.
totally.
It's like,
And
I
with
mean,
that line comes, I think, over this third watch was one of my favorites. I mean, I have 2 like scenes that really like freaked me out. One of my favorites was I can't remember when it fucking happens, but it's after we learn the line that she's just saying, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" And then that is like replayed as like a loudspeaker somewhere else as like a musical cue. Do you remember
mhm.
talking about? I don't know why I can't
Yeah,
remember the scene. That
yeah,
like really like, oh my god, that fucking floored me. I thought it was such a great use, and it does that a couple times where these little um, verbal notes or musical cues get like repeated and almost like emphasized and even like torn up a little bit to really emphasize the um, I guess the psychological break. It's like a great use of motif.
hmm
mhm. One thing that we haven't really discussed yet either is it's 1997. Not a lot of people know what a web page is, especially Mima, who just gets her computer and she's just like, "What the hell is this thing?" And obviously, you see who gets her computer is Rumi, and she's the one that shows her the web page of Mima's diary or Mima's journal, and she starts to become obviously very obsessed with this web page, even
right.
going as so far as like when she walks into her room and she starts looking at the web page and she goes, "How was your day?" Like talking to the web page as if it is the true version of herself. um so I thought that it was really funny. Like, first of all, like in 2025, and we're watching a movie about somebody like is learning about the internet and learning how it works, where she's literally typing an HTTP column slash slash into the web page, like reading it out. So I thought that was a really nice, like, kind of throwback to the early days of the internet, but also showing that even in these early days, how dangerous it can be, especially on a chat room.
hmm
Totally.
Yeah, and I think it gives a an air of sustainability to this film because even though it's still early internet, like it still addresses issues in today's society because we are so tied to the internet. So it's just another factor that makes this film so everlasting, in my opinion. I I have one or two more things actually to jump back onto the Rumi conversation. Did it stand out to you guys that after several takes, Rumi says to Mima, "I can tell you're trying so hard." Like I thought that that was an interesting choice of words from Rumi. And now that we're discussing it this way, I wonder if what she really means by that is like, I can tell that you're trying so hard to not to come back to your pop idol. Like I can tell that you're trying so hard to break free of this
Mm.
acting shackle that you're being placed into. So I just wonder if there was a double meaning because I while I was watching it, I was confused, I guess, by those that choice of words. Like, it sounded kind of condescending. Like it's not necessarily what you would say to someone after
Yeah.
a good take. I
I
can
don't
tell you're
know.
trying so hard.
I feel like maybe that's herself, because I never really got the vibe, besides like I never really got the vibe that Mimi wanted to go back to Cham. Like, she knew it was gonna be difficult because that's her whole persona. That's how she's built her reputation. But I feel that Mimi truly wants to come back, or that she wants to, branch out and be an
I
actress.
think
Like, a lot of these things are, taking her out of her comfort zone, like the rape scene, the naked photography, like, but she's wanting to do this to branch out and like truly be herself. So I think Rumi might mean it as like, I know you're trying really hard to do what you are doing, like you are
maybe,
doing it, but
maybe. But
she never
also,
really believed she
Mima doesn't.
could.
I don't think Mima knows what she wants. I think part of her maybe wants that, yeah.
Hmm.
But
She think that that's just like the natural progression of like what people do.
Well, I think that part of
She's
her
not
wants to
pushed into
become an
it.
actress. I think part of her wants to return to Cham. I think part of her probably doesn't want any fame whatsoever. And I think that that's what we're watching play out is her struggle with finding who it is that she wants to truly be because she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And there's what are you gonna say?
Yeah.
No, you got it.
No, that I think that's really I think that you are right, yes, Felix, but I don't think that that's her only goal. Um, and I think that Rumi is trying to subtly kind of say, like, I can tell you're trying so hard. Like, as that's right after we see her manifest her own version of the scene. I don't know. Just some food for thought. Also, Rumi, are you me?
Oh,
Uh,
damn. Bars.
That's all.
that's cool.
That's
Um,
speaking of Rumi though, by the way, like just like another scene that stood out to me was like during the chase scene, where obviously when she's chasing her like in the costume, like we see this Mima like persona like floating around everywhere, like she never touches the ground, so she has
mhm.
this like kind of interpretation that she's lighter than air, like she is this otherworldly being. And one scene in particular when they're chasing each other through the streets of Japan, and we see her we see the Mima persona running next to a mirror, and we see Rumi really just fucking sprinting her ass off, like mouth open, like kind of just like you could see just like how much effort she's putting into, even more so when she breaks the window and her wig falls off, and that she's so dedicated to embodying this persona and continuing to be Mima that like she leans into a shard of glass just to collect her wig. Like, and it's not quick either, obviously. Like it's slow, it's a slow stab. And it's crazy just how obsessive that even like obviously her fans have this like disgusting imagery of like, and these, obviously stupid takes on like how Mima should live her life, but like you're the manager, you are in charge of this woman, and you are trying to embody her so hard, and you wish that you could be her so much that you literally walk into your own like walking into glass just to continue that persona. Like it was wild.
Mhm.
I'm curious what
And
you guys think about two things: her floating, and do you think that that's just the way that Mima is viewing it, and then
Yeah.
also the truck? Because I can't. I'm trying to piece this together in my mind, but a little earlier than halfway through the movie, we just get a hard cut from Mima almost getting hit by a truck. But that's also the way that the movie almost ends is Mima and Rumi getting hit by a truck. So do you think that we're being told things in a non-linear fashion? Like, what do you think is going on here? Is it?
I think
I,
so
I
linear.
don't. I don't really know. I don't have an answer for it.
That feels more like just like a creative liberty to make the
Okay.
theme feel a bit stronger. I think it's
Yeah.
especially with when like the big reveal that it's actually Rumi. We don't even know that it's Rumi until we see her in the reflection. We don't even see actual Rumi until well in that last third act when I think Rumi or the I'm trying to say Mima's like projection is on top of Mima trying to kill her, and like Mima's strangling Rumi, and then Rumi's face starts to appear when she starts to actually struggle against it.
That's a wild shot,
Isn't
dude.
that it's
Mm.
that like
Crazy.
that also blew my fucking mind when I saw it. Just like the slowest, subtle like
I didn't. I did
moving
not fully
fingers.
catch that on the first watch.
It is I
Damn.
because it's so subtle and it's so brief, but like great.
Mhm.
Because I think that is also a great indication of later in the chase scene where you see the reflection again when she's barrel downing that fucking down that ladder. And I
So, that
love it.
shit had me cracking up
I
looking
know
at her
it's just
face.
yeah.
It's
But again,
awesome.
it's a great consistency of keeping Mima's perception of reality in our eyes. Where even though we can tell like for the rest of the movie, the projection that we're seeing is like glowing and it's like kind of faded. It's like it's not a very clear
Yeah.
image. For Rumi, it's
It's
very
almost
kind
like
of
a phantom, like a ghost.
yeah, it's like a ghost. But then when we reveal that it's Rumi, it's very solid. The lines are cut. There's not
Mm-hmm.
any kind of like ambiguity as to what's actually in front of her. Except for Mima, now she perceives it as so real, and she only notices that it's Rumi through the reflection. And then at the end of the chase scene, which I fucking love, there's a moment where she just looks at it, where she's like runs down an alley and she's stopped by that big wall of glass, and for like 3 seconds, it's just her. And there's a pause on her image as she's like been stabbed twice and she probably has like broken legs. And there's like, I don't know why, this is probably just me projecting onto it, but it felt like that's a weird moment of like, oh, everything clicking into reality again, where she sees herself and she's not seeing herself as the Cham pop idol. She's just seeing how like what her career has done to her. And it's very real, it's painful, and it's just miserable. And then Rumi slash Mima projection comes behind her and stats on the glass, and then the whole truck thing happens. Like it's a great combination of everything coming full circle, all the bows getting tied, and everything I think wrapping up into that very last scene where it's just kind of it's quiet and there's a firm realization from Mima that like she's confident in her identity and she's become what she set out to do, which is an actor in this field. And the actress that she even looks like resembles the actress who she admired when she was working on the show early in the film. So I love that there's this consistency of theme. And there's like, I mean, again, like when Rumi is leaning over to grab the wig and she's frantic about it. And she leans so slowly over that giant suck of glass. And I love the brief shot where you see you see it's just like a ground shot of the shattered glass, and her face comes into view, and of course it's fractured over the different pieces of glass. Like great visual metaphor, for fractured identity. The whole last scene is so good, all for these little moments.
And I think that like this, so going through this list, we have a lot of, and we have our Ghibli movies, we have the Spider-Verse movies on this list, and I was going into Perfect Blue, I was like, not to say that like the animation was bad, because it was beautiful. It's just Ghibli and the Spider-Verse movies, like I've mentioned in earlier episodes, like push the envelope of animation forward into like how visually, like in terms of like the craft, they have pushed animation, and how, you know, those movies set the standard for what would come after that. So I'm thinking in Perfect Blue, like looking at it, I'm like, it just kind of just looks like any other like anime movie that I've seen before, but I feel that it's taking animation and making it into contemporary shots that you would see in like an A24 film today. Like it's just the visual cues, but how they use it in an animated film to not only, you know, enhance the experience, but also like this movie has been doing, blur the lines between fantasy and reality. So it really throws you for a loop. But even just what you were talking about, like when Rumi is reaching for the wig and there's the shattered glass, like obviously signifying that like this persona and her thinking that she's Mima is destroyed now. Like it's completely shattered. Um, it's just that was the takeaway that I was getting. I'm like, okay, with this being like arguably like the least boundary pushing in terms of like the actual craft of animation, it's how they use the animation to heighten the story elements versus like what Ghibli is doing with like Princess Mononoke, and like taking that animation style and making it into this like epic adventure just based off the visuals alone. So I thought that in that aspect, perfect. And obviously I knew this movie was going to look really nice and all the movements are really fluid, but just the visual style displayed here by Khan is just, it's remarkable. It really does make me want to dive more into his filmography. This is my first Khan movie as well, so
This was his first movie as well.
Yeah, it's her debut.
Yeah.
Crazy.
What? Okay. Last thing I think, unless you guys have more that we can discuss before moving into the rankings, because I think there's a lot to discuss there too. Is it why the title Perfect Blue? Do you think that
from the
it's
original novel, but I have no idea what it means.
yeah. So it's loosely based off from my understanding, the novel was less ethereal,
Yeah.
less disassociated from reality in the way that it was presented. But yeah, it's loosely based off Perfect Blue, a complete metamorphosis, right? And I don't know if it's explained in the novel why it's called that. I have my own loose idea of why it may be called that, but I'm just curious what you guys thought.
Well, while you talk about it, I'm looking at Reddit.
Okay.
I think the title felt more like I don't know. It felt more just like a cool title to me.
Okay.
I couldn't find any specific inferences of color. I mean, other than the
No, me
times
neither. That's the
likely.
thing.
Yeah, like there's a couple moments where I'm like, oh, the color is really good in the scene because it
Right.
contrasts the characters very well. But there was never a moment where I felt like, oh, blue is like a theme or it's like a constant thing. Even
If
like,
anything, red or pink was more
yeah,
of
yeah,
a persistent.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one. The only thing I can think of is like if you're trying to find the perfect blue, it would be similar to Mima trying to find the perfect blend of personality so that she's able to like
yeah,
feel fulfilled.
whole,
But
yeah,
that's a very loose correlation. I'm not sure
yeah.
how
It's
that would
strange.
work.
But also, I kind of like that it's just a weird
Ambiguous. Yeah.
title. Yeah. Even like there will be blood is that kind of title for me. I mean, like it is telling of like there's violence in it, but it's not a very
We
I don't
lost
know how to describe it.
Felix.
It's like it is an ambiguous title, and I think that just makes the movie a little bit cooler.
Yeah.
Even fucking beau travail is like that. It's called the beau travail in French is like good or beautiful, and I think it means good work, which doesn't really translate to like the theme of the movie, the visuals, or like anything really. But it has like
Yeah.
it. I think for me, it adds that bit of like
Okay.
weirdness.
Yeah. Suspicion. I like that.
Yeah.
Felix, you find anything on Reddit?
No, because my computer was whacking the hell out. So
Wonder what happened there.
I don't know, but I think it'd be really nice to go ahead and just dive into the rankings then, if everybody is cool with that.
I think we should do it. I think you mind if we hit a quick break and dive into it?
Yeah, while I figure out my life because my computer's being really stupid right now.
Cool. Are you just gonna leave the recording? Is that
Yeah,
what you usually do? Okay, bet.
yeah. So don't do anything stupid.
No promises.
Yeah. So in terms of enjoyability and rewatchability, I mean, this movie is pretty up there for me with like the movies on this list. Like really up there. Like I ended up giving this a 14 out of 15 for enjoyability and rewatchability.
Oh yeah, I'm the one that needs to enter it now.
I was like, hello.
All right, yeah, 14 out of 15. Yeah. I strongly am considering a 14 as well because I want to jump back on this movie ASAP, and I genuinely feel like it'll be well worth my time to do so. I'm torn between 13 and 14. I think that right now I'll put it at a 13 because I'm questioning it, but it's definitely one of those that I could see just continuing to grow on me and become one of like those movies that I just love to show people. So I get a similar feeling to it as I did with Donnie Darko the first time I watched it, where it's like it takes a lot to watch, not because it's a slow, boring, or bad movie, but because it's one in which you really do kind of need to commit yourself to it. And that is the type of movie that continues to grow on me, even if not one that I'm instantly thinking like this was just a great time movie. Fuck, I want to put it at 14 though too. I'm gonna put it at 13 right now. Hear you out, Will, and maybe hop back to it. What do you
I'm
got?
also putting it at a 13, only because I think while it's like every time I go back to it, I notice more things. And it's the kind of movie where you can think about it differently as you grow. I think there will be a point. It does feel like there's a point where I'll see everything in it that I needed to see.
Right.
I think that's what kind of keeps it from that 14 spot for me. But 13 is like still very good, very high praise, very fun to watch, and definitely a good like I have a movie to show you type of thing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, 13 is a high rating.
Very solid.
Will, the way that we do this is we snake. So you're also going to give your rating for story.
For story, 13. Only because I've seen similar stuff. I mean, again, very solid. I've seen stuff similar to it in terms of premise, but I mean, the execution is incredible.
Yeah, I think that we have seen similar stuff. However, I will say that I would probably 60-70% of what I've seen that's similar to Perfect Blue came out after Perfect Blue.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate the way that it weaves its storylines and the way that it allows you to connect reality to illusion and kind of experience this personality breakdown with Mima. I think I'm going to land it at a 14 because it's really, really tight. It allows for exploration within its narrative, and it it doesn't waste any time. And I'll get to that in pacing too, but it it comes full circle, and it gives it all to you in a nice, perfect little package that confuses the fuck out of you and allows you to project your own feelings onto it. And I love a story that can do that. Felix, where are you at with it?
I ended up putting this at a 13 as well. Um and that's just from my first watch. I feel like after this movie definitely requires a second viewing afterwards. Like it's almost like a completely different story once you already know like the twists, so you can observe other characters' behaviors during the movie. So I mean, upon initial watch, the story is amazing. Obviously there's like confusing elements when you blur like fantasy and reality, but I feel that after a second watch that score would definitely go up. But 13 is where I like having it at right now. For lasting impression, this I gave this a 14 out of 15. I mean, this movie completely blew me away. um like I knew it was going to be good. I knew going into it was going to be, it's classified as a Japanese horror movie, but so I'm have that kind of mentality going into it, but I don't really think it is. Like it's a
Mm-mm.
very just like it's a thriller
Yeah.
mostly. But I mean, I was still like my expectations were high. They were blown off. They blew the roof off of my expectations. So props to Perfect Blue.
Yeah, I would put this in a similar genre as a movie such as Seven that has horror
Mhm.
elements, but at the end of the day is a psychological thriller,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
rather than horror. And I was expecting when I first started this movie, I didn't know anything. I knew that it was said to be a horror movie, and I was expecting a horror movie, but I wasn't disappointed by any means. In terms of lasting impression, this is always a tough one because again, we just watched this movie. Will, this might be an easier category for you, honestly, since you've had a relationship with it. I think right now I could put it at an 11 or a 12. I'm going to err a little higher just because I did really like it. And I'll probably share it with people and talk about it with people. Um, and it's one of those movies that leaves you kind of saying, "Oh, damn, I didn't catch that," like hours, if not days after watching the film. And I think that that's a good sign that it's going to have a continued effect on my psyche, so to speak. But I'll land it at a 12. It's not quite up in the upper echelons on this one. What about for you, Will?
Definitely 14. I mean, also, I'm definitely biased because I've seen it multiple times. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
I've
this
seen
is
it
of
more.
all the categories, lasting impression is the one like I'll go back and change,
Yeah, yeah.
because that's the way it works. But
I will say though, even when I've like the periods of time where I wasn't watching it, it felt like there was definitely a couple scenes that always kind of came back to me that I liked thinking about. Um, Visual and auditory, I think the visuals, the animation is hard to judge fairly only because like the budgets they were working with weren't the best, but with what they were given, everything is like I don't know why I wrote 14 out of 10. It's 10. I think it's a total 10. There's a couple scenes, especially like there's a really, really strong audio cues. One of my favorites is when she gets that fax
mhm.
first. And you hear that like ching, 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 and it repeats and repeats, repeats, and it kind of gets in this weird like starts to freak you out a little bit. And then I love that that exact same sound with music added repeats when she sees Mimania on set. I love like little shit like that. Always, I'm like, get
Yeah.
off, give it. But it's, I mean, visuals especially. It's like it's made. It's a very mature movie. It's very careful about how it chooses to show information and what's where in the frame. Like it looks like it's like a seasoned veteran directed this movie or did the storyboard for it. It's so
Mhm.
experienced. It knows exactly what it is. I think it has a really strong identity. So 10, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said, Will. The only thing keeping me from putting it at a 10 as opposed to a 9 is that I would absolutely love to see all of these visual and auditory cues and metaphors displayed in a way that is significantly eye-catching, because I think that that would just blow my mind. And I respect and love what it is that we got, and I think that that adds to the story in its own way, the kind of raw feel and nature to it. However, there were certainly moments where I thought to myself, the animation is kind of just flat and weak.
Mhm.
And for that reason, I can't put it flat out of 10. But I totally agree with everything that you said. Like, with what they had, I they did better than anyone could have imagined. I mean, there's so much story being told in what you're seeing and what you're hearing, regardless of what people are saying on screen.
Mhm.
And for that, I have tremendous respect. What about for you, Felix?
I mean, I also gave it a 9. Like I was mentioning earlier, like the way that they use visuals, like it's not trying to be this groundbreaking like animated film in terms of the actual craft of animation, like we mentioned earlier, but the way it utilizes the medium of animation and makes the film contemporary with its visuals, with its, like Will just mentioned, like with its sound cues and even the music, like it was amazing to watch. But I feel that like in terms of this list and the animated movies we have on here, there's tens for specific reasons. Like it's like you said, if this was a groundbreaking, like, show stopping animate, like animation we never seen before while still using the visual cues that we do get, that would have pushed it to a 10. um what I will give a 10 is the pacing of this movie. It just, this movie runs real quick. It's really short, and it does, like Parker mentioned earlier, there's no filler. It's just go 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 all the time. And even when there's scenes that you're kind of in the same shot or the same scene over and over again, like it confuses you enough to keep you intrigued as to why are we revisiting this scene again. And there's just a really good payoff. Even Will mentioning about, like, pulling a rubber band really slowly, like I don't feel like it ever like snaps, like it never kind of just breaks the pacing. It's very well paced, like props.
Yeah, I also give it a 10. This movie is a car crash in slow motion, and you're trapped in it the whole time. Will,
So
I think this
10.
safe to
These are
say
like,
10.
for me,
Yeah.
the pacing and the visuals are like the backbone of the movie for me.
Mhm.
Everything else is like great and has their own merits, but like specifically the pacing, especially for a thriller, if it's not paced well, you're going to feel a lot of whiplash if the big moment doesn't come at the right time in the right way. So I think like it does it perfectly.
And every moment in this movie feels like a big moment. Like
Yeah.
the climax is equaled several times prior to the climax, in my opinion,
Mhm.
in terms of wow, I'm really drawn in.
Yeah.
So I major kudos uh, to that. For acting, what do you have to say, Will?
Acting's kind of hard. I could have just thrown the category out because I don't know how to. It's
Yeah,
hard to
it's
judge it
tough.
because it's the way Japanese voice actors act. Even though I've been watching anime for years, it's still like there's some stuff that I can't really like intuit for how like tone of voice I can never interpret well,
Hmm.
only because it's a different language and how
Right.
they phrase doubt or questions is not the same as we do it. So I say it's hard to judge. I'll just say 8 because there wasn't a
Hmm.
moment where I felt like separated from the characters.
Right. Yeah, I also will land with you at an 8. Felix and I struggle with this also with like the Ghibli films, for example, that
Mhm.
or even a live action foreign film, especially from if there's one from the 50s or earlier, where you just don't really understand or have a good grasp on how it is that things were phrased in the way that people said things and what it meant in that context. So the way I kind of look at it is, were there moments in which the voice of the actor really brought me to the edge of my seat or heightened emotion? And on the flip side of that coin, were there moments in which the way, regardless of my knowledge of the way that things are phrased, were there moments in which I was completely taken out of it because of the way that something was said by an actor? This movie didn't really have either for me. If anything, it probably aired more towards the side of the performances were really convincing. There weren't any instances in which I, said, despite the language barrier, this is an incredible performance. And there weren't moments in which I was like, this sucks. So yeah, I'm also going to park it at an 8. Long-winded explanation for that. I apologize. Felix?
No, I like that description of it though.
Yeah. I also gave it an 8, just for the same reasons. Like, if the only way that I can really, like, just piggybacking off of interpreting performances in a foreign language, and even more so difficult in a movie, a voice acting role in a foreign language, like I always mention, I'd say like the 10 out of 10 for a foreign film in acting, like that was Scenes from a Marriage for me, where like
Yeah,
we
yeah.
don't understand the language, but the inflections and the raw emotion that we get, and the lack of raw emotion sometimes, is what really pushes it forward, and like it breaks the boundaries of language entirely to make you understand what's going on in something that's not your native language. And to Will's point, like I've seen a lot of anime, and there's just, you get put into a rut where you just, it doesn't matter who it is, you'll have the same like 3 voice actors in an anime, where it's like high pitched, the high pitched like female protagonist, the sleazy kind of voice actor kind of inflection. I don't know, like if Will knows what I'm talking about, of just like the like the manager. I feel like he could have been placed in literally any other anime and it would have been the same character. Like it kind of just feels very familiar. Um, but I would say just like Mima's performances and just what we see on screen versus like what is being portrayed through the voice acting is really good. Like Mima's performance is top notch in this. I feel like everybody else was just kind of subpar. Um, in terms of suspension of disbelief, this one was difficult because of, you don't really know where you're at in the movie for most of the time, so it's kind of hard to kind of see it. And we always struggle with this too, because like obviously this is a heightened realism but with like fantastical elements. So I gave it an 8, only because when we're not in reality, or when we think we're not in reality, it is kind of jarring. But once like the story that plays out, I wasn't taken out of it. Like there wasn't anything where I was like, okay, like come on.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
think
just, it's kind of difficult to put a number on it when like you don't know where you are most of the movie.
100% with this type of film, it can be difficult to judge your suspension of disbelief. But the way that I'm viewing it, especially for a movie like Perfect Blue, is, are there instances in the narrative structure in which it pulls me out of what I'm watching and makes me question whether or not that was a logical choice for the movie to make? And I don't think that happens throughout this film. Again, it boils down to Cohn's intention with what he's doing, and I really think that he probably had intention in more than we would, in more like scenes and in more choices than we would ever possibly be able to discuss. It just feels like that type of movie in which every detail was catered to, every choice was deliberate. And I think for that reason, I'm going to give it a 10, because it manages to walk the
Hot
line.
damn.
Well, it manages to walk the line of disbelief and blur reality without taking you out of the possibility of it. Because yeah, like these crazy kind of unbelievable things are happening in terms of the violence that's expressed throughout the film, and maybe that's the only like way I could deduct a point, but then we would have no movie to watch and that would be boring. So it just all felt very intentional to me, and at no point was I thinking like this is stupid or pointless. It all is done for a reason, and I was never taken out of it.
Fair.
Will, what you got? That's a
I
soft 10. I don't. It's tough, but that's how I'm feeling.
That's a strong 10. I'll say 8 as well. I'll say only because the movie doesn't do anything to. I'll say when I'm watching the movie, I'm always convinced of what's going on. I think just only because it's still animated, that it's still like there's a couple things that's like my eye will just catch on, like I can see the person doesn't have a face from this weird angle, or like little animation stuff that maybe that's actually probably belongs in a different category.
I see. I see.
You know what I mean? But
No, I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm thinking mixing categories actually in that explanation. But I'll say the movie always convinces me of what's going on, but not to the point where I'm so like juiced up to feel like I'm in the scene. If
Okay.
that makes sense. So like, but 8's still solid score.
Yeah, definitely.
Originality.
It's another tough one when it's based off a
I
novel.
feel like this might be like the weakest point of the movie. It's like a 7, I think. I had an 8
Oh,
original.
shit.
Now that I'm thinking about it, because I mean, the whole thing is you can boil it down to, I mean, almost unfairly and simplistically, you can boil it down to it's about an obsessed people, really, about obsessed people, and also an obsession with control and change and psychosis. But I think the things that it does to separate itself are having almost like two separate antagonists who aren't working in tandem for a lot of the movie and just happen to be having that same obsessive angle, although actually slightly different ways. But I think it doesn't maybe. I can't. I'm hard on saying what could do better because I don't know how to fucking make a movie. But I can't. Putting the number 8 or 9 in my head for originality just doesn't fit. That's the best.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that.
Yeah.
That's what these are, is like gut feelings, and sometimes there's not a great explanation for it, but you got to go with your heart. And I'm struggling with it too. I think that the way that it's approached in terms of lower budget animation, like that's where the originality really shines. I mean, we are being told a story that is not necessarily a completely original idea, even for 1997.
Mhm.
And for that reason, I definitely can't give it a 10. But the same way your heart yearns for a 9 or for a 7, will my heart yearns for a 9. I just think that it's got similar beats to things that we know and to story arcs that had been explored prior to its release. But at the same time, it's something new in many ways for me personally in the way that I experience this film. I don't watch a lot of animated movies. I don't watch any anime. So maybe there's a disconnect there and I'm not seeing, similar ways that things are approached. I don't know. Again, like you said, I'm just going to put it at 9 because that's the way that I feel right now.
Go for it.
Felix?
I also gave it a 9 for the reasonings of, I mean, again, it's like we've been saying this entire time, like the animation style is not pushing boundaries in terms of the craft. And
This is
again,
also
that could
true.
lead into the visual and auditory appeal. But I would say that, and with this being based off of a novel, however, we have had other movies based on novels before, like Lord of the Rings. And obviously, it's not a wholly original idea, but it's the interpretation of that
Right.
piece of media that really is what makes it original. And if this was, again, something that was pushing the boundaries of animation in 1997, this would be a 10 in originality as well. But because it's not, it's a 9. And then finally for attachment, for me it's a 4. I mean, this movie is going to stick with me for a while. And I mean, I know we're going to be, probably tweaking our attachments here, but what you mentioned earlier of like, this is a movie that I would go and recommend to people. Like, I went and recommended this to my brother immediately after watching.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other movie I've ever done that for with my brother was Love Exposure too.
Fucking love
So
Love Exposure.
yeah,
Have you seen
so
Love Exposure?
I've never even heard of that.
You should give it a watch. You
if
got to
you
sit
have
down
like
for it.
half a day, actually just take a full day off and
Yeah,
just watch
it's 4 hours long, but it's amazing. It is amazing.
Damn. Okay.
Um,
Love Exposure.
Yeah, it's not like an epic. It's not like something like it's just like
it's
Just a
great.
it's like a Japanese Looney Tunes.
Talk about an
but it's
original
about
movie. Talk about a 10 out of 10 on
upskirt
originality.
photos and
All right.
yeah.
So I have never experienced the sort of disassociation that Mima does in this film, nor have I experienced a lot of things that Mima experiences in this film. But the thing that does push it from a 3 to a 4 for me, I think, are the scenes in which Mima is kind of taking her reality and showing it on set, because that is something I definitely can relate to in terms of feeling certain things for certain reasons and them coming out as emotions that other people are interpreting as caused by something else. I hope that makes sense. But it struck me struck me in a kind of a personal way, and I did really like the movie. And so I think it's not often I go higher than a 3 on personal attachment, honestly, but I think I'm going to put it at a 4. And maybe I've just got a little bit of like recency bias on this movie showing through my ratings right now, but I'm feeling good about it. Will?
I think I have to put it 5. I need to make up my originality score, but also I think because this belongs usually to like people who are like anime fans will also kind of tie this movie into like part of that niche interest. But Satoshi Kon doesn't even consider himself like an anime fan. He wasn't an anime fan. He didn't know a lot about it. He didn't know even a lot about idol culture, but he was a huge film buff, and he just thought that animation was the best way to make the movie and write the story. So I think this represents for like my 14-year-old self being super embarrassed about this medium, being like, okay, I could point to that as like, this is what is possible with a really like a serious director and a very experienced hand behind the camera and behind the pencil, or to put like an animation term. But 5 feels like this lives close to me.
All right. Wow. So we are all pretty much in lockstep with Perfect Blue. Felix, it's very rare that you and I have the same rating for a movie. And
that's
Will,
pretty wild.
There's only
Which is crazy because this was Will's favorite movie and he scored lower than both of us did.
And by 1 point.
By 1 point. And also, you and I just watched.
We brought Will on the pod just to shit on the movie.
I think if anything, Will is no, he didn't shit on it at all. If anything, Will probably is the most objective purveyor of this film. But yeah, it's pretty incredible. So that puts us at 4.5 stars for all of us. Allow me one moment to stop sharing my screen here. I'll pull up the list. And Will, you'll be able to see our fancy little list we got going.
Monstrosity.
I'm excited. It's funny because I don't even consider this movie to be like in my top 4, but then on the recent viewing, it's definitely like 5 or 6 spot.
Yeah, like it's just up there that you want to move it into your 4, but then you look at your actual 4 and you're like, I can't.
It doesn't scratch a very like particular emotional itch for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Parker once told me, it was like, why isn't The Dark Knight on your top 4? And then I thought about it and I was like, fuck, maybe I should put it on there.
All right, so this puts Perfect Blue in our top 5, just above Spirited Away. Awesome. Tied with
share it. Oh, wait, I have to share it. I'm so sorry. Hang on. There we go.
I want to see this.
This puts it right above Spirited Away at either number 3 or number 4. We have it now
but it's tied with Lord of the Rings.
Tied with Lord of the Rings. So, Will, unfortunately, your scores do not put, they don't contribute to our
fair.
Your score matters to us, damn it.
But what was your attachment for Fellowship of the Ring, Felix?
Oh, dude, it was a 5.
It was a 5?
That's a 5.
For sure.
Mine was a 3. So that means we have tied personal attachment, which means what's our next default after this? More rewatchability.
Yeah.
What did you have Lord of the Rings at?
I think I had it at a 15. Like
I-
I glazed Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay, so
It
that
deserves.
puts
Yeah,
I gave it an 11. So
what?
our average rewatchability.
Yeah.
Fellowship. So that gives it a 13 average rating. What did you give Perfect Blue?
For rewatchability,
Yeah,
14.
I gave it a 13. So Perfect Blue edges
Yeah,
out
I
Lord of
think
the Rings.
it goes above Lord of the Rings. That's crazy.
That is crazy.
Holy shit.
All right.
Can I make a brief comment about the list that I'm seeing?
Yeah, please
Yeah.
do.
I love that Incendies is number 3.
Dude, there is
That was
no
one
other
of the
movie
most,
like fucking Incendies, dude.
that
If
movie's amazing.
Star Wars and The Thing, if we had not watched it yet, Incendies would be the number one movie we've seen. Like,
Yeah, that movie's.
Okay, let's also just let Will know here how massive of a Star Wars fan Felix is too.
oh yeah, that too.
Like
Okay.
Star Wars is like
Hello.
Felix's bread and butter.
Heard it. Wait, I love this. High and low.
Yeah.
And I'll
Massive
scroll
Amount.
down here.
What else?
So yeah, our top 5 now: Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring at number 5, number 4, Perfect Blue, number 3, Incendies, number 2, Empire Strikes Back, number 1, The Thing.
I think
I've
we have Wild,
completely
the fact that
fucked
Wild
our top
Strawberries is
5
so
list.
high.
What is?
The fact that Wild Strawberries is that high is really interesting to me.
I'm telling you, we're big Bergman fans. Felix, Will gave me a.
I think I heavily glazed Wild Strawberries. I was like, that was my favorite, honestly.
Will gave me a book of essays regarding Ingmar Bergman. And I just actually read Every Film is My Last, Will. It was really
Isn't that so great?
such a good essay.
I fucking love him.
You
So
gotta
yeah,
send
this
me
is
that,
our
dude.
list.
That sounds lit.
As we continue to
Look at all
scroll,
that, dude.
that was our
Look
30.
at the yellow of
Very
along the white
limited.
background. That's really good.
This and this. Love Exposure and Fanny and Alexander being this low pisses me the fuck off.
Oh yeah.
We've got to revisit because I think Passion of Joan of Arc over them, The Pianist over them. I don't know. That's tough for me.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm like Scenes from a Marriage. Like, I still think about Love Exposure and Fanny and Alexander more than Scenes from a Marriage.
No, sir. I think Scenes from a Marriage goes above both of them personally.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
well. Oopsies. I'm gonna try and figure out a way to. I mean, I'm just gonna probably send you my login information.
Are you
for-
not able to do the wheel either?
I'm afraid
Okay.
that
Well,
I'm gonna do the wheel. Here, let me try.
Yeah.
Wait, can I
Will,
just pick
we
it for you?
Nah.
Oh,
Would ruin the suspense. You're welcome to stick around for the wheel. I know that you have to run to the airport,
I
right?
have to skedaddle.
Yeah. So by all means, appreciate you joining us. It was so fun to talk about
Yes,
this with you.
Will.
Hopefully you can join us again in the
Absolutely. This was
future.
awesome.
Thanks for having me, guys. This is great.
Yeah, man. All right. Drive safe.
All right.
All right. See you later, Will.
See you later. Have a good one.
What?
Oopsies. He was in the middle of talking. He was like, "Yeah, see you later."
Did you kick him?
Yeah. He was like, "Yeah, I'll see you later," and then I removed him by accident as I thought he was done talking. Oopsies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god! I really hope that this doesn't get fucked. But all right, we're here.
Well,
We got the wheel. We made it. We're just gonna
reveal
dive
of the
right into
wheel.
it while it's still working.
Yeah, let's do it. Spin
ready?
that wheel. I'm ready.
Fucking do it! Oh my god! All right. What is it? A woman. Not
Woman
a woman.
under the dunes. Woman.
A woman. That would have been fucking ridiculous.
We have Women Under the Influence from 1974. I'm rapidly pulling it up because I've not heard. I've heard the name of this movie, but I don't know anything about it. A Woman
Yeah,
Under
I
the
don't. I know nothing about this movie at all. It was at 62 when we first pulled it.
All right, so we have 1974's A Woman Under the Influence, directed by John Cassavetes. The Letterboxd description reads, "A woman of today, her world, her passions. Mabel Longeddy, desperate and lonely, is married to a Los Angeles municipal construction worker named Nick. Increasingly unstable, especially in the company of others, she craves happiness, but her extremely volatile behavior convinces Nick that she poses a danger to their family and decides to commit her to an institution for 6 months. Alone with a trio of kids to raise on his own, he awaits her return, which holds more than a few surprises. Sounds very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Clocks in at 2 hours and 35 minutes, so nothing crazy in either direction. And it has an average rating of 4.4 out of 5 on Letterboxd, which currently places it at number 60. When we created the list, it was at number 62. So not a whole lot of movement for A Woman Under the Influence. But I'm excited to dive into it. It sounds interesting. I don't know anything about this film. I don't know anything about the director. I've never heard of John Cassavetes before.
No, me neither.
So,
but we also do
so-
love when a movie goes up rather than down. So
Yes, this is true. This is true.
yeah.
Certainly.
Well, it was
right, well,
fun to
great
have Will
episode.
on here. It was
Yeah,
awesome to
despite
talk
the
about Perfect Blue.
technicalities. Yeah.
You know where people can find Parker.
It's great when we have a new top 5
Yeah.
film.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we didn't even discuss what movie did it push out of the top 5.
Shit.
So it looks like it pushed out Spirited Away. We did talk about that. So now Spirited Away.
Damn. That's a big one, dude.
All right. Well, A Woman Under the Influence has big shoes to fill. We shall see. But regardless, I'm excited to dive into it. 2 of my friends on Letterboxd have given this film a 5-star, and one has given it 4.5. Of everyone that I follow that has watched it. So
Yeah.
high
then
praise.
We'll see
Far.
what we think. Is it
Exactly. That's what
is it an
counts.
American movie?
It is an American film, yeah.
Okay, cool. We love to see that.
From 74.
Throwback to when we were just hitting every foreign language film ever, dude. That was
I know. And this is I think it takes place in LA, so it should be pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Also, funny enough, Patrick actually just went to a 75th anniversary screening of Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, I thought about it, and then I remembered, I don't really love this movie that
Yeah.
much. Do I need to see it in theaters?
Maybe it would heighten the experience. I don't know. And you're watching it
maybe.
like
I
in
probably should
LA.
have.
Like I feel like that'd
There's
be
a
cool.
combination of that and showtime's not working out. But
Because
yeah,
like if you
that is
think
dope.
about it, like when we first watched Sunset Boulevard, you were still in Orlando.
Yeah.
Now
that's
you're
true.
like, dude, like I could pass by Schwab's Pharmacy on the way to go watch this movie and I'd be like, fuck.
I
Here
could
it
do
is.
that in Orlando too, dog. They got it at
Yeah,
Universal.
you're right. Yeah. Well, damn. Well, it was great talking with you, Parker. Thanks again to Will for hopping on the pod and talking about Perfect Blue. It was a really good time. So thanks to that. Hopefully we have him on here again. Maybe there's another movie.
Yeah,
that
maybe
features him.
Patrick and Will for a mega episode.
That would be
50th
wild.
anniversary, 50th episode special, something like
Yeah,
that.
we get the band back
Go
together.
crazy.
Would be. But as always, thank you everybody for listening and watching. This has been the Letterbros podcast, and we will see you at the movies.